All right, what's up, Jimmy?
I'm still like rubbing my eyes after watching that game of basketball. That was a tough one to get through. Something we haven't really seen in a while.
Shell
Not only was it a
shocked.
loss, this was a this was a PTSD type of a loss. This was an ugly one. This one brought me back to like last year and the beginning of this year. I'm not happy.
Yeah,
I think I speak for everybody watching the show right now, and I know I speak for you.
yeah, and honestly, I wouldn't blame a ton of you if you didn't tune in, and especially if you live locally, went out and enjoyed the rest of your Sunday. That's what we plan to do after we discuss
I don't even know if I
what,
can enjoy the rest of my Sunday, but I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to give it a
yeah,
shot.
after what transpired here. Very simply put, um, you know, about as bad as it could be for the Celtics. This was the defending champs versus the December Celtics, and it was ugly. And that's what it looked like. It looked like one team that belongs and another team that has no business. And obviously, we know that Celtics aren't that team, but they were today. And It's really all a matter of who shows up the next game. You know what Milwaukee does? They're big. They pack the paint, and they don't let you get to the rim, and they force you to get your non Jason
They
Tatum,
also
Jalen
have
Brown
Giannis.
guys,
They have
huh?
Giannis. They also have
Yeah,
Giannis.
but I mean, they force defensively, they're forcing non-shooters to shoot, and the Celtics obliged them, and their non-shooters shot all freaking game to the tune of 50 attempted threes, and they sucked at it. And they lost. And in fact, at the end of the day, the three-point shooting wasn't even as bad as all that with the final numbers, even though they made some garbage ones late here that didn't really matter. Brutal
They
all-around performance, brutal individual performances. Jalen Brown, maybe the worst game I can remember him playing in a long time. And it's not a Jalen bias. Jalen Brown is as bad as Jalen Brown gets. And I
we're
don't
talking
know.
about Jalen, everybody.
I feel like part of this, you're going to start hearing some hamstring stuff on his offensive foul against Giannis. He did that little grab at the hammy there. He felt tentative all game long, like he was worried the thing was going to pop or something. He was not right. I mean, he's coming up short on his shots. Just and then the turnovers and the dribbling and the Jalen stuff. You can live with that when he's knocking down shots. When he's not, I mean, it was a detriment out there. Tatum was ice cold too. Couldn't figure out the Bucks' length. Really struggled with it. Kept trying to force the issue, got frustrated. He has to adapt. He's got to figure out a different way. I think he's got to start taking some mid-range, pulling up in the lane instead of trying to get all the way to the basket. He kept trying to force it, and it kept going bad for him. And then Giannis is a force of nature, and obviously he had an awesome game. He had a great passing game. Was the best player by miles on the court. Jrue Holiday was phenomenal too. So, those are quick snapshot takeaways. We'll get into it a bit with Bobby, Jimmy, and Josue all at the Garden. Want to tell everybody at home, HelloFresh.com. HelloFresh is our sponsor here at the Garden Report. We keep it fresh on the Garden Report. HelloFresh.com/playoff16. Use this
Nice.
code.
New
Get up
code.
to
Like that.
16 meals. 16 meals for free and 3 free gifts. This is a phenomenal deal. You get fresh meat and produce delivered to your door with extremely easy to follow recipes. If this were a different day and a more joyous occasion, we would end this show with some food picks because the entire Garden Report crew did some Hello Fresh style cooking this week. Some stuff looked
I might
yeah.
still toss some picks up towards the end.
Jimmy made some nice looking stuff here. Bobby, Josue, Sherrod, the entire crew. Yep.
I just want to say ahead of time, it didn't look nice. The pictures don't do it. It's hard to make meatloaf look nice. I'll be completely honest.
I thought you did okay. So Jimmy, where do you want to
get back to the game? Yeah. Can I say something? I mean, Jesus, you're going into Hello Fresh before you even get to talk about the game here.
Well, we just want to. We're setting the stage.
Can I get a word in?
You can talk for the next 20 minutes until the other guys get here.
I don't want 20 minutes. I just want to say I wanted to piggyback on a couple of things you said. And yeah, Jalen had a tough game. And the worst part about it for Jalen wasn't like he was being tasked with guarding Giannis all game. I mean, we're talking about very, beatable players that he's guarding. We're talking about Connaughton, we're talking about, getting switched on a guy like Portis, whoever it is. Like the Bucks are a very, very good team. They're strong. They're deep. I thought the one thing the Bucks did today was they bullied the Celtics. They were the tougher team. And I know people want to complain about the refs, and there might be some
enough
to that, but I'm not going to sit here and complain about the refs. Like I'm just not going to do that. Like you got when you get to the playoffs, you have to play tough. And the Bucks team are a hell of a lot tougher than Brooklyn. let's be completely honest right off the top. These guys go hard in the paint. They will go right at you. They have one of the best all-around players in the NBA in Drew Holiday. They have some big dudes down low, Brook Lopez, and then they have Giannis, who is arguably the best all-around player in the league, the best player in the leagues. So this wasn't going to be easy. And this is all without Chris Middleton. So, I mean, that's a gift in and of itself. And the Celtics came out today and they just stunk it up. I thought the way they started, it was like, okay, they've got a little handle on Giannis here. They're kind of playing tough on him. They're not letting him get any force down in the paint. But Giannis does it all. Triple-double tonight. I mean, he finds ways to win the game. That's the mark of a true, champion. And I just thought that, led by him, the Bucks were the more complete team today. And the Celtics, again, they were baited into these long, these 3-point shots over and over. And yeah, John, you look at the percentages and okay, well, they 36%, that's not horrible. They didn't hit him when it mattered. They didn't go on a run. When Giannis left the game in that third quarter with about 4 minutes left or whatever it was, that was the time where you needed to, I think it was an 8-point or right around 8-point lead for the Bucks, 10 points. And the Celtics did absolutely nothing. Giannis is out of the game. They did nothing with that. And at that point, it was basically over. I mean, you go into the fourth quarter down, whatever you were down, showed no signs of life. There was no, if you were at the game today, I can't even imagine a stretch of time where you were really fired up. There was maybe back-to-back threes at one point where I think the fans got into it, but there was never that sort of momentum for the Celtics that made you feel okay, here they come. They're gonna go on a run here. They're gonna tie this game up. It never really got to that point. And the Bucks are too good of a team. They're too well coached, too veteran savvy to blow a game like that, especially when you're playing against a team like the Celtics that just weren't on today. This was not a Celtics team that we saw.
They got
in round one towards the end of this season. They got punked. Literally, I mean, that's the best way to put it. And I say that sometimes I feel like I say that a lot, but today it felt like they got
flat out got punked. They got out physical. They got out executed. The things that they were doing well and the things they were doing with other teams.
They fall back into some traps there with the ref.
By the way, and again, we can talk about the ref stuff and it getting into people's heads. I don't think it's as big a deal as people will make it out to be. But the difference between look at Giannis. Giannis draws contact on every single play he goes to the basket, and yeah, he gets a lot of calls, but he did not get a lot of calls in the first half, and he was turning the ball over, and they were playing him very, very physically, and he never turned around and barked at the ref a single freaking time. So it's just a difference in how you handle it and whether or not you let it get to you and understand this is the kind of game it's going to be. Sherrod, will give you your kind of first takeaway. A lot not to like, but what kind of stood out to you here?
You guys can hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, great. A couple things. First and foremost, the level of physicality, it was not even close. I mean, Milwaukee was the tougher, mentally, physically playing team in this game. That to me, that's a given. The other thing was I didn't think the Celtics made any type of legitimate adjustments throughout the game.
Ever.
It was as if that they kind of it's almost as if they put this thing in autopilot and just said whatever the hell happens is going to happen. I didn't see Jaylen Brown play with the kind of fire that we've seen him deliver. I didn't see Jason Tatum had a couple of moments, but nothing that you really felt as though was anything more than just a flicker. And to Jimmy's point, they got punked. I mean, this was like, the biggest bully on the block coming in your neighborhood and just saying, I'm going to bully you, and you basically let him do it in your home, in your neighborhood. Milwaukee absolutely punished them over and over. And the final score, 12-point game, this could have easily been a much larger game. If I'm the Celtics and I go back and I look at this game, the couple of things that I'm going to have to keep telling myself is that we're not going to have a lot of opportunities to make them pay for their mistakes because they don't make a lot. When they do, we need to capitalize on that. When Giannis picked up that 4th foul and hit the bench, that to me was when a 10-0 run needs to happen.
Right.
And that just never happened. And we're talking about the shortcomings of the Celtics, but credit Milwaukee. I mean, they showed why they're the defending NBA champion. I mean, this was a mentally tough game that they came in here and they outperformed the Celtics on every metric.
Yeah, but in terms of adjustments, as you said, Milwaukee did what they did. And they dared, they keep their bigs home. They pack the paint. and they dare you to, and they'll give away 3-pointers to certain shooters, particularly ones above the break. They'll give you those. And so they want you to get beaten by Smart and by Horford and by Grant and whatnot. And the Celtics obliged them, and they just kept doing it. Because I think they did get frustrated because they had a difficult time getting to the paint, but they never really adjusted. They never worked on anything kind of more in the mid-range or any sort of kind of floater game, attacking the middle a little bit, pull-ups during drop coverage on pick and rolls. And again, they weren't switching as much here, and Giroux was kind of staying with his man at the top of the key. But they just kind of played their game. They did what Milwaukee wanted, which was, I'm going to put the ball in the hands of my, non-scoring players and see if those guys can beat you. And this was one of those games where they couldn't.
See, I thought that there were opportunities where they could have finished at the rim, and they elected to just dribble, drive.
It was in their head a little bit.
It was totally in their head, and it was in their head even when Giannis wasn't patrolling the paint. It was in their head. I mean, if you beat your guy off the dribble and you've got Grayson Allen the only thing between you and the damn rim, what the hell are you kicking it out to Al Horford for? Shoot over his little ass. That was the thing that bothered me really more than anything else about this game. There were clear and undeniable opportunities for them to get points in the paint that Giannis just couldn't cover that ground. Or if he did try to make a play, more likely than not, he would have been called for a foul because he would have had to have covered a lot of ground in no time. I just think that the Celtics didn't take advantage of the opportunities that Milwaukee gave them. And hopefully when they go back and look at the film, they'll realize this. And rather than just attacking the rim to kick out for a three, they'll actually look to score every now and then.
What was wrong with Jalen in your mind? Is there anything physical?
I couldn't tell because he wasn't aggressive enough for me to figure out if it was a physical thing. I mean, he had matchups, I thought, throughout this game that
because he's going to have that matchup, right?
Yeah. I mean, when he was guarded by the Carter kid, when Grayson Allen was on him, those are matchups where Jalen, if you could get him the ball in the middle of the paint, which he had the ball there a few possessions, just shoot over the top of those guys is all you got to really do. And that's the thing, John, to your point, that they really need to look at is not so much layups and 3-pointers, but all that real estate in between. Because I thought if they're looking for an example of what that looks like, pay attention to what Jrue Holiday did all game long. He was absolutely on point about knowing when to pull up for the three, when to take 2 or 3 steps in and pull up for the mid-range, or when to go to the cup. He kept them off balance the entire game by mixing in all 3 levels. And the Celtics, they never countered that or, frankly, came up with their own version of that.
Yeah, that is the facts, my dog. That is true. How much of what happened here in this game with this team is emblematic of, how do you think a lot of the series is going to go? And how much of it was just, okay, maybe they got punched in the mouth and they weren't fully ready for it?
Well, I think it's a little bit of both. Go ahead, Jimmy.
No, I mean, I was going to let you go, Sherrod, but I mean, I'm very interested to see what adjustments the Celtics make here. And this is game 2 is going to be the biggest game of Ime's career, obviously. But he's got to look at the film here and say, okay, what did the Bucks do to bait us into these threes, to force us into making some tough shots at the rim? And how is he going to adjust from that? Because it felt like, I'm not going to say it was out-coached tonight, but it felt like the Bucks came in with a game plan and executed it to perfection. Maybe it started off a little bit slow, but they came around in that late in the first. And then after that, it was the Bucks kind of instilling their will this game. I didn't feel like the Celtics ever got into a flow. It felt like, it looked like they were always playing from behind. I think they kind of lost sight of what's gotten them to this point. The ball movement wasn't there. Like I said, the Bucks were playing back, almost daring them to shoot threes. And, John talked about it off the top. Jaylen Brown's shot was off today. And I know, Sherrod, you talked about it as well. Pritchard was off today. I mean, he was super cold to start that fourth quarter. And, by the time Tatum ended up starting to hit some baskets, they were already behind and, he wasn't enough to get it started. We didn't even talk about Marcus Smart's injury. I mean, you guys saw, I don't know if you saw actually, Sherrod, because you're at the game, but they showed on the television Marcus Smart in the tunnel limping like pretty badly, hobbling, I guess you could call it, in the tunnel. I mean, he's banged up. I mean, that right quad contusion looks to be like something like, I don't know what they're going to be able to do over the next game. 2 is in 2 days. I mean, so there's only so much they can do to get that right. Then they've got a nice little break before game 3. Hopefully he can be more of himself there. But I mean, he's obviously banged up. That shoulder injury was scary. I'm glad it was just a stinger. I feel like once Rob left, did Rob even? I didn't even remember seeing Rob after he left the game. I mean, like
He came, yeah, he came
back.
back in, but
He came right back in.
I know he did, but he was not effective. I didn't think it was a great second half for him.
no, I after he came back in, Jimmy, there was a dribble drive into the paint, and it was just basically the
got blocked.
ball handler, Rob, and the rim, and Rob didn't jump. And I
Yeah.
thought that was really telling because this was like basically one of the Milwaukee guards. So it's not like you got Giannis where you can jump and still get scored on. You had a freaking 6'3" guard that you didn't even jump for, which told me he was probably more hurt. But to your point about Marcus, I was told before he went out to start the third quarter that quad injury was the one that they were more concerned with than the shoulder, because there seemed to be more soreness there than there was soreness with the shoulder, and that's a scary thing. To your point, Jimmy, the fact that there's such a quick turnaround for game two.
Right.
You're not going to have the benefit of getting that extra day of nothing. So I'm a little nervous about his availability for game two. I know he's going to do everything he can to be out there, but I just wonder, big picture, and by big picture I mean the 7-game series. Would it be better off to sit him in that game and just have him get?
You can't down 1-0.
I can't afford to. I mean, maybe he doesn't play 40 minutes, but like they are too thin at that position to sit him. Like, very obvious. It's just it's a very, very tough situation. And I mean, listen, he's going to get some rest tomorrow. I'm sure they'll be getting massages 24/7 and try to get that back to where it needs to be to play. And Marcus Smart's not going to sit out. I mean, his leg would have to be, broken for him to sit out, at this stage. So I'm not concerned about that. But to your point, Sherrod, when he does play, if he's playing at 60% or something like that, and he's not, as active or as pesky on defense, he's not taking the charges, he's a little hesitant to get contact, or the Bucks are, going hard at him. I mean, they were backing him down today, or trying to. They were physical. The Bucks are a very physical team. Jrue Holiday does not get enough. As good as Jrue Holiday is,
I'm telling you,
and all the awards he wins, I still think he doesn't get enough credit because
I agree. People forget that he was not that long ago. He was an all-star, and he's been playing at a level that, when you look at his numbers, are pretty damn close to what they were when he was officially an all-star. He just understands how to play the game. I mean, he can defend multiple positions. He can knock down threes. He can shoot the floater. He can score at all three main levels. Yeah. And you don't have to call a bunch of plays for him to be impactful. And you rarely see him try to be more than he is. There's very little that he does that feels out of place. He's just a smart player. And that's why, not having Chris Middleton certainly is a blow of sorts, but it means more Jrue Holiday. It means more Giannis handling the ball, which we can, as we saw today. I mean, triple-double, and it was a pretty damn easy-going triple-double.
I know. I mean, he was in trouble.
In fact,
trouble, and he still did it.
Yeah. I mean, it seemed like the points were harder for him to come by than the damn assists, because he was just finding guys in rhythm on the wings, in the corners, at the basket. I mean, he absolutely shredded the Celtics defense.
Yeah, he did. I mean, this is the first obvious loss for the Celtics in the playoffs. This is a humbling type of loss. These guys need to be really thinking about how they played today and what this loss really feels like, because they went 4-0 against Philly, and it was a closer series than 4-0, but this is by far the biggest test that these guys have faced as a team, and it's the beginning of a huge battle.
This is what we said. I mean, the East is a bloodbath because the teams that you're going to have to get through, Milwaukee and Miami, there's no let up. They play hard, they play defense, they execute. They've just got tough players, and so you can't play incomplete games against these teams. They'll mop you up.
Hard. Yeah,
they'll absolutely mop the floor with you if you let your guard down. You just can't do that. You can coast. I mean, Milwaukee answered every mini run the Celtics went, and there weren't a ton of them. And that's what the Celtics did to Brooklyn last time. That's what good teams do. That's what tough teams do. You can't friggin' half-ass your way through a game against Milwaukee and have any chance of winning. Yeah. So that was bad. We'll bring in Bobby. Bobby's courtside. I think he was just in listening to Ime.
You got me.
What's up, Bobby?
What's up, Bobby?
Bob, you just listening to Ime, and what's going on?
Yeah, whole new world here. The transition game really blew them away when Milwaukee got small out there. The physicality I thought was pretty intense and going to the Celtics, especially when the calls started going against them there in the third quarter. And overall, just timely shot making from Milwaukee. I didn't feel like the Celtics were as sharp defensively as other people did coming out of this one. Too much doubling in the lane, leaving shooters alone. That hurt them, I thought. And offensively, what a mess. I mean, they were just completely stagnant against the drop. Even when they got spread out into some smaller lineups.
How about some pull-up jumpers, Bobby?
Yeah.
Good.
It was a lot of settling for threes. You need to have some way to get post touches. In fact, an astounding stat late in the fourth quarter. I forget who tweeted it out, someone with ESPN. The Celtics were on the verge of becoming only the fourth team in the shot clock era to have less than 10 2-pointers in a game. I believe
They got exactly 10, I believe.
Yep. So garbage time too, right? So they effectively did have less than 10 in this game. Historic lack of interior scoring for the Celtics in this one. And, it was their ball handlers. Smart was not good, got hurt midway through, basically a non-factor after that. Tatum passed okay. I thought he had a mediocre game. And you were right, John, when we were talking in the chat earlier. Brown was as bad as it gets.
Yeah.
He was just brutal. Gave them nothing away from the pressure on Tatum. Complete opposite of what he did in the Brooklyn series.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on there. And again, I asked Sherrod, and I'll ask you and Josue because you're there and you're watching the game as well. I know I saw the cameras caught it briefly on the charge against Giannis after he got the whistle, got blown. There, Jalen did the little kind of sort of grab at the hamstring. I don't know whether that was real or that's kind of like a tennis player fiddling with his strings after a missed shot, like blaming the hardware. I don't know if he went there just as like an excuse or it was bothering him. But he airballed like a 10-footer in the lane.
That was brutal. The little baby hook there, yeah.
Oh my goodness gracious. He was short with stuff. He just looked off. And so, did he look physically? And I tweeted, I was like, not as an excuse. I was like, I get the feeling we're going to hear something about this after the game because he looked tentative and he looked bad.
Yeah, I'm with you, John. I was picking up on that too, especially on that play in particular. But sometimes I feel like players will sort of demonstrate that sort of behavior when they're out of it, and it's just one of those things. That was a great analogy, actually. The tennis player, the frustrated tennis player.
Yeah.
So I took it in more as that. But you look at the way the Milwaukee
it didn't
Bucks
look like it was
him.
bugging him. He looked like he was moving all right to you.
He looked like he was moving all right to me. I just felt like the Bucks were.
Did you see him get up? Put back?
Oh my God! That was like he got on an elevator.
That should be an indicator right there in the first quarter. When that happened. But,
boom.
Yeah.
But
So
it's
he
not
was
that
all
with
right.
the
He was just
hamstring. It's
bad.
more. It's the explosion. It's the quickness. It's being decisive and assertive and being able to get by people.
I
But
think the Bucks just made him uncomfortable out there. Honestly, their defense was just everywhere. And you know what? They did the same thing. They were defending Tatum the same way the Celtics were defending Durant in the first round. And I thought that was a great opportunity for Jalen to get going, but he just wasn't as aggressive, and he just couldn't seem to stop turning the ball over, one, and two, just find an offensive rhythm until that fourth quarter when he made a couple of 3-pointers, but it was too little, too late.
Yeah.
I was just going to say briefly on Jalen. If he is actually hampered in any way, he needs to adjust his game. He can't force himself to play this. It's like if you're not 100% and you can't do the things that you typically do, then find other ways to affect the game in a positive way. I'm not saying that's the case, but if that is the case, then that's something that he needs to adjust, and he needs to do like Giannis today. The shots weren't really falling. They were playing defense on him a certain way. He goes out there and drops a triple-double. He grabs 15 rebounds. He does other things.
So good.
He doesn't force the issue. So that's something that Jaylen Brown will maybe need to adjust. But I'm not there yet with Jalen. I don't think that it's a physical thing. I think it's more like a mental thing. Like one of the commenters just said that you put up, John, might be a little bit in his head. You start to see a couple misses, and now you're constantly thinking about, all right, one's got to go down, one's going to go down. And there just wasn't enough help. Otherwise, Tatum didn't get hot until, later in the game either. Both those guys started cold today. You just can't have that. We've said all year, the team will only go as far. It's not breaking news. They're only going to go as far as those two guys are going to take them. We can go back and forth and who's the most important guy in this series and who's the, but it's Tatum and Brown. It was Tatum and Brown in the first series. Those guys led the way each and every game at bits and pieces. Brown was huge in the first series against the Nets. He was right there with Tatum. I know people wanted to give it to Tatum, rightfully so, but Brown they don't win any of those games without Brown's contribution. So he just can't. They can't afford to have him have a game like this.
Well,
And expect- and
to
it wasn't-
Josue's point, it was Milwaukee's defense. You got to give them credit. Lopez played one of his best
Oh,
defensive games
man.
I've ever
He
seen.
was huge. Yeah, Drew
Giannis was
Holiday.
filling that
True.
rotation, help side, block role. He obviously had that huge play, the borderline goaltending on Tatum. And Holiday was brilliant. I mean, Holiday might have been the most important player either team in this game. Created
was
the
massive.
separation in the third quarter there. Guarded
So good.
Tatum at the point of attack. Really disrupted a lot of the screen stuff that they were trying to do with Tatum up at the top. And that's when I really got worried going into this series. I was like, can Holiday guard Tatum? I opened up the numbers and I went, uh-oh. He did, and he did it well during the year. So they have a guy in Middleton's spot who can take over that matchup and do it well in Holiday. Now,
And that's
who's
what
left on
Holiday
Brown?
does. I mean, Holiday guards the other team's best player oftentimes, and I mean that's just who he is. And
Say it,
he's very
John.
good.
Say it. What do you want to say
No.
about Holiday? What do you wanna say
Nothing.
about
He's
Holiday?
great.
What do you wanna say?
I've always been a Holiday stan, so that's not, we're going back to the Kemba Walker bubble days when you guys are like, no, Kemba's so good, he
That's what I
scores points.
thought. Yeah,
That was
that's
like
what I
the
thought. Yeah,
Garden
yeah.
Report
Bucks
pilot.
made that trade. When the Bucks made that trade, I will admit.
John, don't act like.
Drew Holiday. I was like, what?
But-
What? But now I'm like,
yeah, but-
damn, Drew Holiday, dude.
But John's trying to act
That
like that's
dude.
not in the back of his mind. Like he was ready to pull that out probably after game 2 or so. Like,
No,
you-
I wasn't.
You
I
did,
just
you did like Drew for this team for a long time. That's
a
what
long
you did.
time, but I like him period
Yeah.
just because
Today-
he's everything. Like he talk
Big
about a
man.
guy who gives the game what it needs.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
hits the big shot. He'll defend multiple positions. He's friggin' great. I mean, he
even
just
tonight,
does a
like,
lot for you.
He had
At
the steal.
6'3".
He had the steal on one end, the transition 3 on the other.
He
and
plays big, man.
dude.
yeah.
Like there's not many players in the league that can do that, and he's one of them. And he's not even close to their best player. I mean, no offense to him, but they have Giannis. Like that's the craziness, and this is all without Chris Middleton. So we all make our predictions and like, oh, without Middleton, Celtics are gonna cruise. Now look at it, like it's way more than that. These guys.
I didn't say they were gonna cruise, man. These are the
I know. I'm
champions.
paraphrasing, but we all picked the Celtics, and some of us picked them in a lot less games than is the maximum. So, point being, this is a humbling game for I think Celtics fans who are riding pretty high on the Celtics,
Agreed.
and I think the Celtics players. I mean, they have to be sitting there right now being like, wow, we swept the Nets, but now we're playing like a legitimate team that's been there, won a championship, and you can see the difference.
I'm terrified of the Bucks. They are so scary.
Oh,
Like they're gonna have to play exceptional, the Celtics, to win this series because Giannis is gonna take it from them. And this is what I said going in. He is just at peak, and I talked to Ime about this at practice this week. He had that experience last year as an assistant on the Nets, right? Guarding and scheming to stop Giannis in that series, and he did a pretty good job. I thought they handled Giannis well, the Nets did in that series, and Giannis still broke through at the end of every game and finished a lot of those, none more important than the Game 7 where he had a couple buckets in overtime. He's even better. That's what Ime told me. Like, he, as a passer, has gone to a new level. As a defender, he's had to do a lot of more.
He's better.
different roles
He's the
this
best
year.
player. He's the look. With all due
Free
respect, to Joe,
throws too. He hits every free throw now.
he spent a lot of time on it to get that number up to a respectable level. And what was he, around 71, 72% this year? He got there. But look, I mean, Bobby, when we're having our MVP discussions, both on the show and offline, I give my vote to Giannis without blinking. He's the best. He's one of the best offensive and defensive players in basketball. What else do you need to be in order to show that you're the most valuable player? He's literally the best player on the court every time he takes the court. He's offensively and defensively. He's incredible. What's up, Jimmy?
I was just looking at some stats here. And a lot of this has to do with Giannis because of the complete game he played. We were talking about Drew.
Did you raise your hand, Jimmy?
He
I
did.
wanted
I'm
I
gonna go
didn't
back to
want
some pressers, John.
Instead
I'll
of
be
just
right back.
screaming in the middle of John's rant, I wanted to just.
Yeah, it worked. John
follow up.
respected the hell out of it. He really.
I know we don't do
respected
that a lot around here. We usually just cut people off, but I figured out.
Hi. I just put my hand up.
But seriously, talking about the Bucks defense, look at this stat. Fast break points from the Bucks, 28-8, Bucks lead, and then points off turnovers, 27-6. I mean, those are two huge discrepancies. Transition basketball, and I know
The
we talked
Bucks
about
transition
fans are
defense was
complaining
awesome.
about the refs. I don't know if the Celtics were maybe a little slow to get back on defense after some calls that didn't go their way, but Bucks in transition today were lethal. I mean, they were pulling up from three. They were driving to the hoop. They were, ending Celtics.
That's
runs.
amazing considering the Bucks turned it over 21 times, Jimmy.
I know, but the Celtics didn't
Wow.
make anything. They did the same thing against Brooklyn. They create turnovers.
They didn't convert those.
Finish
so-
on the other
yeah.
end.
I know.
It's
They
like
21 turnovers, and the Celtics had what? How many points off turnovers? 6
6. Like that's like
Crazy.
impossible.
off of
to do.
21 turnovers. That's impossible. That's
What are you
impossibly
doing
low.
after the turnover? What do you guys?
They're like celebrating, high five, high five. They're like they're doing free throw high fives after the turnovers.
It's hard not to a few of those need to go in. You expect to be in transition. There's no there was the finishing at the rim tonight was abysmal, and that's why they chucked so many threes. And 36%, I think, or whatever it was, isn't horrible. But you got it. They hit. Wait, hold on. They hit 28 shots tonight.
Hold on.
They hit
Let me
28
consult.
shots. 18 were threes. So you had 10 shots that
Yeah.
went in that weren't 3-pointers. Like, come on, you got to do better than that on the offensive end. I know the Bucks are a strong team defensively, but you've got to do better than that. You got to have some presence in the paint. There was no presence in the paint tonight. It was a tough one to watch from start to finish. Again, this is a Sunday ruiner for a lot of people. You just want to go out there and get some sun, and now you're just going to be thinking back on so many missed opportunities.
Sunday ruiner.
Sunday ruiner.
Hey Jimmy, how was the weekend? It was good until the Bucks ruined my Sunday.
Sunday
raise
could have
your
been.
hand.
Sunday could have been elite. Sunday could have been
Josue,
elite.
raise your hand, all right?
This way, I was just give me a little,
Sorry.
give me a little nod like that.
Jimmy was definitely that kid who was like, when someone got a word in edgewise, he was like, "You didn't raise your hand though, Mr.
Yeah.
Teacher.
In the back, I'm
No,
in for 20
in
minutes.
I had my hand up. That's
In
not fair,
in
bro.
homeschool, even though he was the only student, he had to raise his hand every single
Completely
time.
ignored in homeschool, and that's why I ended up in
Jimmy.
homeschool. I was getting no respect. in
Yes,
public
Mr.
school system.
Toscano. Mom, why do
Are
you
we
have to
done?
call me Mr. Toscano?
Are we not raising our hands this morning?
Are we not raising our hands, Mr. Toscano? Mom!
Come on.
No, but really, guys. I mean, again, it's like what I said from the beginning. Like the Bucks the Celtics were doing what the Bucks wanted them to do. And take those open shots. Now, look, my concern is, not guys like Tatum and Brown, because I think the law of averages will say that they'll make those open shots later on in this series. But what about the other guys? I mean, I thought Grant Williams had a good game. I thought offensively this team. I mean, look, to see them put on not even 90, less than 90 points. That's concerning for a team that averaged 104. Especially coming off this series against the Nets, they were putting up a lot of points even without Rob Williams. Just based off the defense alone and having those extra possessions, they have to convert on those extra possessions. They have to convert on those off of those turnovers, because once the Milwaukee Bucks go downhill, that's when they'll kill you. Like that's exactly what happened in the second half, and the Celtics just never made them pay. Look, they survived a lot of those Milwaukee runs, though. You give the Celtics credit for that, but you have to be able to punch back harder in that fourth quarter. It's kind of a conversation we've been revisiting all season long. Even when the Celtics turned into a good team, we always had to revisit this conversation every once in a while when it was fourth quarter, close game, and we needed to see them turn it up a notch, and they were just unable to do that. I felt like the Bucks capitalized on that. They really did their homework as well. The passing lanes, the way the Celtics, the way the Celtics rotate the ball. Milwaukee was ready for all of that.
They just got their ass kicked.
My dog.
Plain and simple.
Pretty
Plain and
much.
simple. They played a team that came in with the right mentality, the right kind of edge, a championship edge,
Yeah.
and the Celtics were never able to meet that head on. And they've got 48 hours to figure this out, because if they lose game 2, the series is over. They're not going to win four. They're not going to win 4 out of 5. It's over. I don't really care how they want to
agree with
slice and
that.
dice
Yeah,
it up. That's you're not going to. Milwaukee's just too talented. They're too tough mentally, physically, to go down to lose 4 out of 5. So
Yeah, no, I mean that's fair. I think game 2 is a must win. And listen, the Celtics, I haven't seen the line yet, but I would think that I would still think the Celtics would be favored in game 2, even after what we saw today, because they still have the. I mean, it's all going to hinge on Marcus Smart.
Oh, you pissed off Sherrod, man. Look what you did.
Yeah, peace, Sherrod. See you around, bro. No, but
I'll be back. I just need a drink.
all right.
Yeah, get a drink.
Stop trying to start stuff, Josue, before I come over there.
You look
That was-
hard.
that was a timely exit. It was a timely exit.
He's like, oh, Jimmy's going on. All right, I'm gonna take a break here. I'm gonna go get a drink. There's nothing important I'm gonna miss. No, but going back to what I was saying is the Celtics, and I don't think there's any reason to panic yet. I think, listen, what do we think? The Celtics were gonna sweep the Bucks? Of course not. But I do think we all thought that they were gonna come out, play a little bit harder, more complete game today, and it was gonna be closer. It didn't feel close after like midway through the second quarter, almost. Even though it wasn't like ever out of reach, it was like 8 to 10 to 12 points. It felt like, and then they were going to be a 4.
Second half.
And then Celtics were going to run and cut it to like 2 or whatever, and then it would be 8 again, just like that, So it just felt like the Bucks always had an answer for the Celtics. So again, this game 2 is going to be a huge Ime game. They don't have a ton of time here, but they're going to have to look back and figure out what the Bucks did to force the Celtics into some of the positions that they were in. And of course, the obvious ones. Jaylen Brown needs to hit the shots that are given to him. Tatum needs to get going earlier than he did. You didn't get anything from Pritchard tonight. He was super cold from 3. Al Horford
Wide open threes, yeah.
Wide open threes. Al Horford I thought had a great game. Maybe figure out a way to get Al more shots because he's hitting his threes right now. And if everyone else is going cold, Al Horford's the Mr. Dependable right now. So I don't know if there's a way you can get him more shots, but there's got to be some adjustments that the Celtics have to make. And again, it all hinges on what percentage of Marcus Smart are you going to get, because he's like,
I know people here are blaming the threes, but at the end of the day, the Celtics amazingly had a better 3-point percentage than the Bucks had, and it didn't feel like that watching the game.
No.
So it's more than this is more than a make-miss sort of game. There's much more to why the Celtics lost here, and a lot of it had to do with points in the paint and transition. Everyone's going to be hyper-focused on the threes. At the end of the day, you actually had some guys who shot fairly well from 3. You had Derek White, Marcus made some, Al made some. It wasn't horrible. Pritchard missed his, and obviously Jaylen and Jason were cold most of the game. So it's not all on the shooting. It wasn't just a cold Celtics game. This was the problems run deeper here.
You go back and look at this game really in the first quarter and all the opportunities that they created for themselves by beating their man off the dribble, getting into the paint, and no one wants to shoot a floater. Everyone wants to drive and kick. And if you're Milwaukee, that's exactly what you want, because there's a greater likelihood you're going to miss a 3-pointer than there is that you're going to miss a shot in the paint.
Celtics did it to Brooklyn. It's like I'll live with other things. I don't want these guys to beat me.
Right.
You make life really hard for Durant. They made life really hard for Tatum. And go ahead, spread it around. I don't care.
You can't be scared to go in the paint. You can't go out looking like punks like they did tonight, where you get into the paint and you decide, oh, I'm just going to kick it out. No, you attack. You try to finish. You don't just attack and get to the paint and then it's like, ooh, Giannis might be coming from somewhere. Let me just kick it out. No, attack. You can't be timid at this point of the season, particularly when you're trying to knock off the champ. You're not just trying to win a playoff series. You're trying to beat literally the best team in basketball a year ago.
Again, as I kept saying, I don't understand why they didn't try to get into the lane a little bit and try a little pull up or two. It was incredible. This is Tatum's game. We told him not to shoot it. Shoot them. Get in there. Shoot those jumpers. Him and Jaylen, they love that stuff. They should be, that's something that they have to look to do. But again, they settled for 3, or they tried to force their way into the lane, and they were just big bodies there waiting for him. I saw Mr. Toscano in the front row that had his hand raised. Yep.
Yeah. Thanks. Thanks. Just going through Twitter, looking at some quotes. Al talking. He's saying a lot of
this guy again.
We've already said on the show. I raised my hand. Can I speak? Otherwise, what's the point?
Mr. Toscano, will you please speak? Damn.
Yes.
Thank you, teachers. Now I lost my spot. I forgot what I was
2
gonna
seconds.
say. I forgot what I was going to say. Ever get those kids? Oh, I forgot what I was going to say. All right, get out of here. Al Horford. They were meeting our guys at the rim. It was clearly a point of emphasis. We said that. They blocked him at the rim. And then one I thought was really interesting, he was talking about composure, and he said, there was a time I saw that Jason needed to be pulled away from the officials. The officials did a good job. They let us play, and it was a hard-fought game. So Al Horford kind of using today as maybe a bit of a teaching moment for some of the guys. And what we said, they were getting a little fed up by some of the calls or non-calls. And Did they lose their composure? Well, I mean, Al Horford just pretty much said that they did at certain points. So this is the playoffs. You know, you have to be mentally tough out there. It's physically tough, as the Bucks showed, and it's mentally tough too. You know, you can't be all in your feelings because the call didn't go your way. Get back on defense and stop some of those transition buckets.
I know it.
The Bucks
And that's
had
exactly-
all damn game.
That's exactly what Milwaukee did the entire game. It was like every time the Celtics made 1 or 2 big plays offensively, Milwaukee would come back and boom, smack you in the mouth with a mid-range shot, hit you with a
Right.
3-ball. Giannis dunking on somebody. They had an answer for every time the Celtics started to feel good about themselves, and that has more to do with the Celtics and their inability to lock in at both ends of the floor than it does with Milwaukee. Because to me, some of the shots that Milwaukee hit after Celtics baskets were just lazy defense. Guys not rotating, guys not contesting shots when they should be from the minute the ball was inbounded. There are just a lot of mental lapses I thought the Celtics had in this game that we didn't see as much of in Brooklyn. And when we did see them, because of the Brooklyn's personnel, you could get away with that. Like I mean, there's a huge difference between, leaving a Grayson Allen or a Drew Holiday open versus, some of the yahoos that played with Kyrie and KD in Brooklyn. Those guys. There's a reason why most of those guys are minimum wage players. There's a reason why they're minimum wage players, and there's a reason why most of the guys in the Bucks are not minimum wage players. So, hopefully this is a teaching moment for the Celtics, and that they'll figure out mainly, number one, you got to be more physical, more aggressive. You got to be more consistent, and you have to play elite, locked in at both ends of the floor, not just at one end or the other. Because I thought there was a lot of breakdowns at one end or the other for them, and you just can't be. You got to be locked in from the very beginning to the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. These guys are battle tested. These other guys, the Drew Holidays, the Pat Connaughton. I mean, these guys have a role and they know what they're going to do when they go out there. Like the thing about the Bucks, when you compare them to those other guys that were playing for the Brooklyn Nets, like Sherrod just brought up, is that they didn't necessarily have all that figured out yet, and the Celtics were able to capitalize on that. This is a totally different beast here in the Milwaukee Bucks. I mean, obviously they're the champs for a reason, but also because they know that this is the path that they chose, right? I mean, they know that they didn't want to see Brooklyn, but they were comfortable enough or confident enough to come in here knowing that they weren't going to have home court advantage and steal one. That's exactly what they did here in game one.
Go.
Well,
good call,
huge.
Chris, right?
The play for the 2 seed crowd. Home court's going to matter. Well, home court's over.
It's gone. The home court advantage is gone.
Celtics can win in Milwaukee too, John. Relax. They can take that home court right just back.
Jimmy.
Right. Well, that's true, Jimmy. But until that happens, though, I mean,
right now, home court has been flipped. Absolutely. That's series with 2 in a row at home to start.
In this series, home court is irrelevant for either team because I think both teams can win on the other team's floor. It's a matter of who's playing mentally and physically tougher from one game to the next. Who's locked in? Who's playing with the kind of focus that you have to get from not just one game to the next, but from one series to the next. Milwaukee has been there, done that. I had a chance to talk to some of their assistant coaches before the game, and the one thing that they're not nearly as worried about Chris Middleton being gone as some people might think they are, because they got a lot of guys who are tough. There are no punks on that team. As much as people want to say Grayson Allen, he's not. He's a tough, gritty guy.
I thought they would miss Middleton as much.
Don't bring Grayson Allen's name onto this show. Go on, Josh.
No. I thought they'd miss him for the defense because I thought it would create mismatches because, again, Holiday would stick either Tatum or Brown on the perimeter, but then you'd be stuck with someone like a Wes Matthews on the other guy, or you'd have to force Giannis to come out from under the basket, to check Tatum.
I thought Jalen would have the miss. Yeah, I thought Jalen would have
a mismatch all game long and take advantage of it, and he didn't, and that was a big problem because that's with Giroux on Tatum, that's kind of what you would expect to see, and it didn't happen, and that's where I thought they'd not having Middleton would hurt them, is kind of having that wing defender out there. I thought there would be matchups that they could exploit, and they didn't at all today, and a lot of that was because Jalen was so friggin' bad. So what you need next game is you need first quarter Jalen to show up badly. Kind of set the tone, because that'll put the Bucks on their heels and kind of make them rethink their lineups or their alignment. If whoever they put on, if it's Matthews is getting cooked here and Brown's taking advantage of that matchup, that'll force them to play a little bit differently. But it didn't happen today, so That was it. You know,
I mean, Buck bench tonight. They did what they needed to do with Giannis out. I mean, Javon Carter plus 25 off the bench.
That just breaks my heart.
Damn,
Should never happen.
That's a crazy stat. Sherrod, you mentioned Grayson Allen, 11 points. 4 for 8 from the field. I mean, did we need to do? I can't stand Grayson Allen. He reminds me of King Joffrey on Game of Thrones. Like I feel like he's just
Ted Cruz, but that's a good one too.
He's King Joffrey to me. Every time I look at him, I just want to punch his face.
He looks like Ted Cruz.
Yeah, he does. But I mean, it's just like I can't imagine. He's just like a little squirmy worm. I just like.
You would love it. You would love to have him.
You would love him if you were in Boston. So stop it.
I would. Stop.
No, I wouldn't.
You absolutely would.
You love annoying people.
I mean, Jimmy, it would be like literally looking in the mirror.
I do gravitate towards annoying people. I wonder why that is. But
blame it on homeschool.
But really, though, the Bucks bunch tonight, they got it done, and like we mentioned, some players in the Celtics that just came up short tonight. So this is just a lopsided game, from almost start to finish. Again, the weird thing is the Celtics looked good off the start. Like that was the weird thing about it. They didn't come out flat, which is when we talk about last year's team or beginning of this year, like that was one of the things we hated about them is that they would go down early to start and then they'd have to come back from 20 points and then they'd fall short. But this wasn't that type of game. They actually went up early and Bucks just kind of turned on the Jets and the Celtics they just couldn't keep up. They got outclassed. Yeah. We've used every word in the dictionary tonight. Outclassed, out-hustled.
Out-toughed.
Punked. Everything any word you want to throw at it. And it feels like they feel the same way, listening to some of the quotes that are coming out here. And I'm sure Bobby and Josue are in the press rooms right now.
Who has talked so far? You said Al and anyone else?
I haven't checked recently. I know Al. I mean, obviously Ime must have spoken, so I haven't seen anything from Ime yet. But Ime is going to have to be tough on these guys, I imagine. I mean, that's just who he is. But there's just so many things that he's going to be able to point out from this game that they did wrong or that they just didn't do well enough. Where he's going to have a field day tomorrow. I mean, this isn't one of those. Again, we talked about they're playing again on Tuesday, so it's not like they're going to go hard tomorrow at practice. Like that's something that they'll do between games 2 and 3. Tomorrow's going to be a film day. Get in the film room. Ime is going to be up late tonight breaking down everything that they did wrong with the rest of the.
Yeah, look, bad offense made the Bucks' life easier.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's a chess match. Going into game 2, so I'm very interested to see what different things the Celtics are going to do to try to stop, and the Bucks are going to adjust too. It's not like they're going to go out there and do exactly, just play it back. I mean, they're a well-run organization, a well-coached team, so that's going to be very interesting to see what transpires between now and game 2.
Yep, no shortcuts, no days off. Celtics were off their game today, and you just can't do that against Milwaukee. It was a rough one. It's just, and again, so much of it came down to offensive execution. You said it, Jimmy. I actually thought they looked really connected on defense in the first part of the first half. They were turning Giannis over. They were really swarming him early, not letting him kind of get settled, not letting him get ahead of steam, which is always, makes him really hard to stop there when you do that. And it was looking good there for a little bit. I wasn't as concerned about the defense, even though it wasn't perfect. And yeah, they left some shooters open, and that's going to happen when you're helping over on Giannis and trying to, defend the paint a little bit. That's inevitable. I definitely think, some of their, they lost track of a few people. There were definitely a few breakdowns, but this one came down to offense. The offense was so friggin' bad, and it turned into points for Milwaukee the other way. It was just putrid.
So Ime's already going in. I don't think our decision making was great. Jalen and Jason didn't have their best night offensively. So I mean, that's just the very first quote I see. So he's not shying away.
He talked already. He's been off. I mean,
I know we didn't get to any of it on the show. So he goes whether it was kickouts,
Horford was good too. He just basically kind of said the same stuff that they got humbled, and it happens, and that's that. It should hurt a little bit, said Al. There's levels to this. They were definitely on a different level tonight. It's not easy in the playoffs, and that's just just kind of got to get ready for a fight. It looks like they just weren't fully ready for it.
Ime said they need to find ways to play against their physicality. So that's another thing we said right off the top, that they were just that physicality tonight was just completely one-sided. It just felt like the Celtics were getting pushed
Yeah,
around.
people in the chat are asking about the injuries. There's no hard updates here. Marcus was sore. Marcus was sore, and he said he was coming, but he was always planning on coming back in. I'm sure he's going to be frigging sore, and he'll have to ice it. And he's got to whatever. He's got to. Everyone's here gotten a Charlie horse on their thigh before. It hurts. You stiffen up. It's not awesome.
It's all pain tolerance.
He'll
It's,
play.
whether it's Marcus, whether it's Jaylen Brown. I mean,
But with
Robert
Brown,
Giannis
it's more of
not,
a with Brown, I'm worried he's in his head, because the hamstring, you're always worried is the next stride going to be the one where I get that pop, and that's going to knock me out. And if it's in the back of your head, it's really hard to kind of play free, because you're always going to be going at about 70%, 75. If you feel it tugging, you feel it pulling a little, it's like, is this the one that's going to let it? That's going to make it go. So if that was bugging him, and it's been bugging him, and it was in the back of his mind, I kind of get it. We haven't heard from Brown yet, so we don't have an injury update as far as that's concerned. Rob's balls are okay, I think.
Yeah, John will let us know. John will let us know tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah. Rob's, got a bruised ding, but he'll be all right.
Yeah, he'll be fine. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about him. Honestly, it could have been a lot worse. Seeing some of the.
You got your injury updates? You guys happy?
Yeah, you got your injury updates, right? And people, it could have been a lot worse based on when we saw Marcus Smart running up the court, when we saw Rob Williams just writhing, and we weren't sure right away what it was. So I think they came out of this best case scenario, I guess, based on what we saw.
Yeah, bruises. Okay, it's the playoffs. You're playing a physical team. You get knocked around a little bit. Okay, you got kicked in the sack. Yeah, you got kneed in the thigh. It happens. Okay, you just gotta.
A little Charlie horse in the shoulder. Those things happen. You gotta punch back. Little physicality out there. You gotta give it back to them. That's how you stop these bullies. I learned that before I went to homeschool. You gotta fight back.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I couldn't handle it, so I ended up in homeschool.
Going to homeschool.
Some people can.
Yeah.
But that's it. Listen, shitty game one. I mean, you got to chalk it up. You can't dwell on it. If you're the Celtics team, you got to learn from it, and you got to get right. I think it's a good thing that they play. In a way, it's a good thing that they can play again sooner than later. Just get back out there, dust yourself off. They know they can compete with this team. They did it all season, so this isn't like some overmatched. It looked like it was today. It's bad points, but this isn't an overmatched matchup here.
They got to come out in game 2 and kick them in the what.
Right, you got to punch forward. Yeah, kick them in the balls too.
Yeah.
Back out.
Yeah, I mean the adjustments that they're gonna have to make are far more mental than physical. They have to come in with the right attitude, right mindset, that we're not going to allow them to just roll up in here and kick our ass. We actually have to deliver the first punch.
Yeah.
And that, I think that's going to be the big takeaway from them in this game, is just that they have to be a more physical team. And we haven't talked much about it, but officiating, it's going to be what it is. I thought it was a little odd though that Scott Foster was in their last game and this game.
Come on.
That felt a little bit forced. Because I don't know too many playoff series where one of the officials from your last series is also officiating your first game of your next series.
Yeah, they're trying to save on travel. They trying to save on travel. They just played it back with the guys that were in town. What's that?
So what? You keep him in Brooklyn for a week and then you have him catch a train into Boston?
Yeah, right. Yeah, quick little bus, little Feng Hua back in the day. Anyone take the Lucky Star?
Oh yeah.
So the cost of a week in New York that's just like, it wouldn't be cheaper to just
a $10 Feng Hua bus. Who didn't take that at one point or another?
There's live chickens running around the back of the bus, it's mayhem on there.
That was just like a say your prayers, close your eyes, and just hope that you arrive there.
They dump you off in Chinatown. You're completely okay. I could literally.
The Toscano Chronicles. There we go. We got the Toscano Chronicles right now. Nice.
Yeah, that's some interesting experiences on the.
What do you got for us, Bobby?
Bobby, what's going on?
What do we got, Bobby?
Caught up with Al, Drew Holiday, Bobby Portis were talking too. Al, a lot of talk about the composure of the team, which I thought was a factor here. They definitely kind of unraveled a little bit late third into the fourth. This game obviously got away from them, upwards of 20 points late in the fourth. The calls, officiating, but mostly the turnovers, Al and Ime were saying, fed what the Bucks are doing offensively, let them get on the open court. I mean, you're dead when the Bucks get out in transition. And on the flip side, Drew and that crowd that the Bucks are showing, he kind of just brushed off anything he did individually against Tatum. Said it was the 4 guys getting in there in the paint area. And you saw that. It's unreal. It's like I said this, John. You'll like the comparison. It's like a defensive line just collapsing in on a running back.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if you throw in extra linebackers or something, but there are 4 guys around Tatum in that paint area, and they didn't foul. I mean, how many free throws did Tatum shoot in this one? I know the commenters will probably disagree, but, you know, ATN missed 3. That didn't help. Celtics overall shoot 20. So it's pretty even.
The Bucks shot 21. Again, I just don't know where people are kind of really pissed off about the officiating. It really was not a factor in this game. It really wasn't.
That's
a few moments maybe, but
I mean, you're going to look both ways on questionable calls. This is not. The Celtics got punked. They got beat. They played a bad game. You move on to the next one. There's nothing else. There's not a lot to say about this game. We all saw what happened. They execute better. They're a little bit more in control. They turn the ball over less. They get better quality shots.
They got better shooters.
Knock down some of their open looks, and they're in much better shape next time. Again, I didn't think they did a horrible job defensively. I thought they did a decent job defensively on Giannis. They swarmed him. They made him turn the ball over. They blocked some of his shots. I actually thought they played Giannis about as well as you're going to play Giannis. It's not
Horford did. I thought the other guys struggled. I Tatum physically overmatched in there.
They are, but that's a given. Every human's going to be physically overmatched against Giannis. You can only do so much. They did as much as I thought that they could do there. They made life difficult. They threw bodies at him. They have some guys who are long and physical who are able to compete, you know, and try to take away some of his space. They did fine. He didn't friggin' shoot lights out there. He had a great passing game, but I mean, that's a testament to the type of player that he's become. But they did all right. They did all right there. On the Bucks' 2 best players, neither one shot terrific in this game. You know, some of the other guys were the ones knocking down shots when those guys were finding them on their kickouts and stuff. So, you know, again, I'm not as worried. I think whatever lapses they had defensively, they can tighten up. I think bad offense was as much to do with the Bucks. You know,
are you worried about them losing the series now?
You know, it's always there. It's always there. It's always possible because it's a good team, you know, and there's not a lot of margin for error.
Sherrod?
I'm not changing I'm still going to stick with this. Just one game's not going to change my entire, prediction on the Celtics. But if you thought this was going to, if you're one of the few people out there who thought this was going to be easy, the Celtics were going to roll, then this should change that opinion because it's definitely not that. This ain't that. This is not the Brooklyn Nets.
No. So we can go up from here. I thought Rob was really good. Or we can go down and pick on John's guy, Derek White.
Derek White turned it around. He had a really bad first stint. Really bad.
Here's my thing about.
I thought he was better. He was really better. Bad. Yeah.
He's got to really help them in this series, though. I mean, we went back and forth a lot last round on, is he good? Is he bad? He was doing his thing. I feel like overall he's been fine with the Celtics so far. Which is, you know, again, you got to find a good rotation player in a spot where you were bad a lot of the time before. So that's a win in a trade sense. But in terms of competing for a championship, you need him to be on his game in the spot where he fits, and I'm still not really sure what that is.
I don't know what that is. I don't know what it is. I don't know what he's supposed to do. On offense, they still haven't figured out what they want him to do. That
is he
lineup
a catch and shoot guy? Is he going to facilitate offense?
That White Pritchard Grant lineup was rough.
With Brown out there, yep.
Oh my God, that was rough. And I don't know what White is. I don't know what he is.
You could say the same about Pritchard too. It's like,
John,
is he going to be a point guard?
Pritchard's a scorer.
Yes,
that's
Jimmy.
Pritchard's job. Pritchard's a shot maker.
So he's not going to be a backup point guard.
What do you got, Jimmy? What are your advanced metrics?
No, I actually don't. I mean, just the ones that we keep back and forth in the text. is outrageous.
No, defensively he's good, Jimmy. You can't
Wait,
argue
wait, wait.
that.
What are you talking about? Some of the stuff people are, throwing around in our
that's
text.
that we throw out there. That's like somebody puts a graphic up on Twitter. It's like an advanced stat that no one's ever heard of. It's like
I'm like,
well,
I'm sorry.
Derek White is actually second in the league in WARP or something like that.
I'm sorry. Not only is Derek White,
that explains it.
Derek White's actually one of the top 30 players in the league. My bad. I totally saw it wrong. These numbers change everything. There's so many numbers like that. I don't know what he does. I don't know what he does.
I
He
think they're all
defends. He
Derek
moves
White
the
burner
ball.
accounts.
He so far what you've gotten out of him is great defense and secondary ball movement. Shot making really comes and goes, and that's where especially you look at him.
It just goes.
No, he made some in the second half. First half,
I mean,
not great.
For the most part, it's
That's
just
a
not
true
there.
statement by Jason
Listen, I'm
White.
not gonna go. I'm getting close to your level on him, John, but I'm not going too low. on
My
him, because I
level
do
is
like a lot
honestly
of the
like
things.
is that he's kind of a jag. Not that he's bad. Not
See,
that
I'm
he's,
not going that low.
Yeah.
Oh,
but
John
he's
goes
just-
low. John
yeah.
will go low. Bobby.
And
You
this
know
is
that.
part of why I'm starting to go in on him a little bit, is because I know he's capable of more. I mean, you look back on the Spurs Celtics game on the other side. I look back and watch that one, in between rounds, and he was like almost triple double. So it feels like he's just. I don't know what you're seeing, Sherrod. Off the ball a little bit too much, but even when he got on the ball tonight, he was getting blitzed and kind of overwhelmed and sped up, which is something Ime saw as well from the
Drew
team.
Holiday had
overall.
his way with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
But
that was
that's
that was
about it.
surprising to me, considering the personnel that was on the floor trying to slow him down, that he would allow himself to get sped up like that. Learning experience. I mean, these are this is part of the process. This is a part of growing into being a champion. At some point, you're gonna have to deal with the champion, and you're gonna have to figure out how to get past him. And that's where the Celtics are right now. They'll be better in game 2. Will it be enough to win? Who the hell knows? But they will be better, though. I'm convinced.
Yeah, the Derek White stuff goes deeper than like, he does so much more. We don't understand basketball, blah, blah, blah. Like, obviously, they got Derek White for a reason, but there's also something, and a lot of that has to do with his defense and some of the smaller things that he does that can affect the game. Who would appreciate that more than Ime Udoka? It's the exact type of player you would think he would like. And right now, Derek White is struggling to crack 15 minutes in the last few games. And there's a reason behind it, because when he's out there, what's going on the court is bad. So I don't know if it's just they haven't found the right combos for him or whatever it is, or it's a rotation thing. But no matter what, it feels like they're suffering when he's out there. And
That's a great question, John. Yeah, I didn't get the mic with Ime, but I'm curious how he feels about him.
Ime's got a quick trigger with him, and he's not using him. We thought for sure when White got here, he was going to be a closer, okay?
Yeah.
That you would close with a single big, and you would go with Smart, White, Tatum, and Brown, and just make life really tough. Have these 4 guys who can, defend the perimeter, one kind of big there. No team would be throwing 2 bigs out. You just thought that was the automatic closing lineup. It's not the case. White's not on the court late in games. He's getting a couple of stints, and that's about it. And that's and out. And I'm not saying he's lost faith, but whatever's happening in game is changing what he is changing Ime's usage of him. And I think it was 15 and 14 in the last 2 Brooklyn games as well. So he's just not right now. Ime's not seeing it either.
Yeah. I mean, that's the most damning stat of all is time on the court. I mean,
Right.
You're right, John. You nailed it. I mean, he's not earned Ime's trust to be on the court right now. And when they traded for him, and based on what they gave up, I mean, this is a guy that should be playing 25 minutes a game easy, right? I mean,
30
especially
maybe.
Yeah, I mean, easy 25, like 30. Yeah, you would think, especially with everyone knows Marcus Smart's banged up right now. That everyone knows the Bucks really freaking bring it to you. They
So
charge you.
27 in the last Brooklyn game, but before that it was 13-14. So yeah, I missed one.
Fine. And all that aside, we're talking about this series now, and he played 16 today, which this is a game where you needed Derek White. You need him to give you 18 points and 6 rebounds and 5 assists. That's the whole point, right? Like these are the games where if Brown is off, Derek White's supposed to step up and sort of take on that. And same with Marcus Smart if he's out of the game with an injury. I mean, that's the whole reason you brought in Derek White, isn't it? So
Especially
Derek White didn't lose you the game tonight. He wasn't the worst player on the court, but he didn't do anything to win you the game either. So if that's the whole purpose of Derek White, he's going to take you from a close game, but you're losing, to a close game and you're winning.
And let's go this. What did Ime say what did Brad say, and what did Ime say? The company line on White when he got here was what?
He
Perfect
does
fit.
everything well.
He's going to do what? He's going to make who better?
Oh, Brandon Tatum.
He's going to make the Jays better. That was a big thing. They talked about it over and over again. He's going to make the Jays better.
And he hasn't done that.
Has he done anything to make them better? Nothing.
Bits and pieces.
Not consistently, right. And so
There's
that's the
not-
thing
yeah.
is like whatever was envisioned for his role, for some reason it didn't fully take. Doesn't mean they're not going to figure out what to do with him next year. But right now, it's kind of jam him in there, see if he does some of those Derek White things, the things that you liked that made you, put together a package and trade for him, and just kind of, roll it out there and let him go. You saw it on literally night one, and then only a handful of times beyond that. He just hasn't looked like he fit.
My last point on this before I'm going to go catch Jalen. They need him because the Bucks are going small. And I'm kind of shocked out of this game that they weren't able to take greater advantage of that.
Yeah.
When Brooke gets off the floor, it was actually more Lopez playing alone with Giannis off the floor than vice versa. But you had wings everywhere. There was a 4-guard Bucks lineup at one point. And that was really when you thought the Celtics and Tatum especially could get going. And the offense just never got off the ground. It was a lot of jump shooting. I actually just saw Tatum say that they felt like they got good shots and that the numbers shouldn't be as big of a deal, but they were settling. And you see Connaughton, you see Wes Matthews, you see these wings on the other side. Even Bobby Portis, who's big, but I don't feel like has the quickest feet. You should really be able to string together some baskets, attack mismatches, and White should be part of that too.
That's what I thought would happen more.
Guys up in those second units, the Celtics killed the Bucks when they were big. The Celtics were the much better team. Smaller, it was the Bucks.
Bobby, before you go, you got to tell us about your HelloFresh experience.
It's been wheels turning in the house. The oven is just never off. This is a dream for me. I've done all three. I've done all three so far that I got. The tacos were exceptional. The meatloaf was
you did meatloaf too?
Pretty solid. Yeah, I got the meatloaf too. Spaghetti was fine, but you got your favorites. You get some stuff. You learn as you go. Like, what are your favorites? What are the other stuff? And this is why HelloFresh has a bunch of different options. Jimmy got different stuff than me. I got my own stuff, and you get 16 free meals with this offer here. You're gonna pretty much be able to try everything. So it's easy, all packaged instructions. It's so easy.
Yeah. And the prep time there's little to no prep time for any of the meals, which is great because that to me that's always the pain in the ass. It's not the cooking; it's all the damn prep work that you typically have to do before you. But it takes no time to do that, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing is you want to make something, but you don't have this ingredient or that ingredient. It's like, whatever, I'll make it without it. I'll substitute. They give you every ingredient.
Not me. I'm an insane. No,
you haven't missed a meal, John.
I'm the worst. If I'm missing one thing and I've got everything laid out on the counter, I'll be like, damn it, and I go get it. Oh,
you don't have to do that with HelloFresh.
I know. I can't live without it. I can't. It breaks my brain. I'm like, I'm not going to put all this effort in and not put this one thing in there. I'm not doing it. So I go to the store again. Yeah. But you don't have to do that with this.
I know Bobby left, so I can't even show him. But I need to show the good people. This is a video. I don't know. Hopefully this. Can you hear this?
Oh, that's the good
stuff.
stuff.
It doesn't look great. This is Indian style chicken. It's like a chicken with curry and a bunch of other seasoning. This was so good. I actually, this is like kind of the finished product here. So you got your rice. It's a little blurry. Sorry.
Yeah.
With your rice, and your curry. Great. I did the meatloaf too. It's hard to make meatloaf look good, but they both tasted great. I have one left.
So real quick, just telling everybody about it. Here's what you've got. It's 16 meals here if you use that promo code. And again, for those people who haven't used HelloFresh, you get the stuff delivered to your door. It's pre-packaged, portioned out with these really super easy to follow menu cards. And then you just whip it up. As Sherrod said, there's no chopping, there's no dicing. It's just done for you. And you just make it. And you've got 50, 60 different options that you can choose from. There's 50 weekly options here. So this is just such a no-brainer. If you like home-cooked meals, you just don't have the time for it. This is an amazing option. It's a really good deal. So again, if you can support our sponsor here, hit that URL, HelloFresh.com/playoffs16. Use the code playoffs16, up to 16 free meals and 3 gifts. So please go check that out, guys. Guys, final thoughts before we wrap it on this one, looking ahead to game 2 in terms of adjustments. What could they have done this game, or what do they need to do next game?
Don't get punked. Be physical. Be the aggressor. Be the one that's initiating. Bring the fight to them, and don't just sit back and let them bring the fight to you, because we saw what happens when you do that. You get your ass kicked. So there it is.
Yeah, get mad.
Get mad. Yeah, sure. I mean, I saw some people in the comments saying, put the hard hat on, Jimmy. Where's the hard hat? Listen, the hard hat only comes out when the Celtics go to work. It's as simple as that. You got to show up to work, hard hat on, lunch pail out, steel-toed boots on, and that's when the hard hat comes out post-game show. It won't make an appearance after a loss. I didn't think the Celtics played hard enough tonight. 10 two-point field goals is the second least amount in playoff history. A stat a buddy just sent me. So that goes to show you that the Celtics fell into the trap. The Bucks forced them to take threes or baited them into taking threes. They took them. And they didn't even shoot that horribly, but it's just not enough. It's not going to be enough to beat this Bucks team. You have to instill your will in them inside the three-point line. I don't care if that means 18-footers. And I know that might go against what the stat nerds say, but you got to take the shots where they give you the shots, not just pray for the three-pointer to fall and get lazy shooting that three. You got to instill some physicality, like Sherrod said, and score in multiple facets of the game. They have to change it up for game 2.
Josue, what'd you pick up here in your interviews? We're wrapping it up here. So who'd you talk to? Any insights?
It was just Jason Tatum. Jaylen Brown is he should be there soon, but it was just Tatum talking about what the Celtics didn't do. Making the right adjustment for game 2. He even said, "Look, the way I see it is we're gonna look at film, regroup, make adjustments, and come back and win." And it's that simple. I mean, he seemed pretty confident in it. John Corrales asked him about his thinking process. It was kind of a comedic moment. He talked about his thinking process of if what the Bucks anticipating is playing a part here, and him trying to do the opposite, or is he just going to do his game and not worry about that, or throughout the course of the game, did he, start to second guess himself? And after all of that, Tatum was like, "That's a lot of thinking, John. I don't have that much time to think. You have to make these split second decisions." And yeah, the Bucks certainly made things difficult for Tatum and the Celtics, but he's confident. He's confident they'll make adjustments, and the way he sees it is he didn't go out and guarantee a win, but he said that that's the way I see it, and I see us winning in game 2. So
Okay.
take that for what it's worth. But to piggyback on what Jimmy was saying, what you guys were saying, just wrapping things up here, and final thoughts here going into game 2. I want to see some baseline action from guys like Marcus Smart. I want to see them try to make things difficult for the Bucks in the sense of them constantly working, whether that means constantly switching, keeping the defense on their toes. Like, I want to see more stuff, more plays designed for guys to get backdoor cuts in the middle, or in the paint rather, not just necessarily leaning on Tatum and Brown to create or for them to pass out the open shots, because again, that's what the Bucks want you to do. But at the same time, you have to find that healthy balance. I mean, Ime Udoka talked about he's not against guys taking open shots. If it's an open shot, take it. Like, he wants you guys, he wants the Celtics to continue to do that, but also be aggressive and make the Milwaukee Bucks defense work a bit. They'll make it so easy for them and not using all the shot clock or not rotating the ball, especially in the second half when if the Celtics find themselves again down by double digits. They have to stay poised. They have to continue to stick with their game plan and stick with that throughout for 48 minutes.
Okay, fair enough. I think
Jalen just stepped on. Yeah,
I think this is as much as we want to say or anybody wants to hear about this game. This was a tough one to watch. Obviously, tough considering expectations of this team and kind of the vibe going in. So a humbling loss, but again, this is how it's going to be. There's no way this is going to be a cakewalk against a team like Milwaukee. So they're in a fight here. We'll see what happens.
I'm going to game 2. I'm going to game 2. My first time at the Garden. I'm actually going as a fan. I don't have a press pass for this one. I just got tickets.
Yep.
I haven't been in the Garden since before COVID, so I'm hoping to bring a little good luck to the C's on Tuesday night.
But will you bring your hard hat, Jimmy? Will you bring your hard hat?
I'm bringing the hard hat. That may be too much.
His boys are clowning him, Sherrod. He's not wearing that.
People
shit.
just come up to me and hit me on the head.
That was the plan, Josue. That was the plan.
I can't. I gotta go undercover. I don't want to have half the media.
Yeah, all right.
Ragging
You
on
know,
me. at the
Jimmy.
game, so.
You know, Jimmy's going with the boys. It's a guy's night out. So that's
No, I
what's
think
up.
it's gonna be me and my dad. Hopefully, we'll see if I can get him.
Oh,
get him
nice. Even
stay
better.
up late, but
All right,
no.
enjoy it. All right, if not, I'll go with you. All
right,
right,
good.
later,
Nah,
guys.
man, take your pops. Don't take this dude. Take your pops. All right.
That's what I did when I went. I took my dad.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what you do.
You got to
That's what
get the
you're
guy
supposed to
out. Got to get him out. All right,
get
we're
him
gonna
out.
we're gonna wrap it,
He's
guys.
He's the
Guys,
reason you do this, Jimmy. Don't forget that. All right, your dad's the reason you do this.
That's right.
We're gonna wrap it again. We're back on Tuesday after this one. Again, reminder: HelloFresh. HelloFresh.com/playoff16. Let them feed you this week, okay? You've got enough to worry about.
Yes.
This series is stressful. Plus, if you're a Boston sports fan and you watch everything, you got the Bruins playoffs on Monday and Wednesday. You got a Celtics game on Tuesday. Who has time to cook, okay? Have HelloFresh.
Not me.
Who has time to prep for it? Have
Yo.
HelloFresh send you the food. You
They're
cook
so
it in
clutch right
15
now.
minutes. You're sitting here with a hot
Yes.
plate of food in front of your TV watching the playoffs. It's going to be glorious. So HelloFresh.com
Invite a girl over.
/playoff
partner,
16. Here we
all
go,
this
Jimmy.
food.
Here we go.
No, I mean, look, you single guy. You want to invite a girl out, cook
Here
for
we
you.
go, Jimmy.
Nice full meal for her. She's gonna be
Here
thrilled.
we go. Here we go.
And 5,
Yeah.
4, 3,
That's it.
Good night.
Two,
Good night, all.
one.
Good night.